to have two sessions in this side event. The first part is going to be the panel session where they're going to explain about the youth voices for climate action. And the second part is going to be the networking and the climate action component by Emory students. So let's not waste time. Let's get started with the first presentation, if that's okay, since we're already late.
So the first part of this presentation is Youth Actions for Anthropogenic Times, and this is brought to you by Swiss Lab, led by myself and my colleague, Associate Professor Kate Coleman, and I'm Sarah Healy. And it's in partnership with Carbon Mediators that we work with in Science Gallery Bengaluru that unfortunately could not accompany us today. So just like to start with a land acknowledgement. This is our land acknowledgement from the Australia Pavilion, and I myself am a Pakeha New Zealander, and I grew up in the shadow of Mangakiki, One Tree Hill, and Mangawhau, Mount Eden in Auckland, and I now live and work on Wurundjeri country, as does Kate, and we'd just like to draw your attention to this last line on the land acknowledgement from the Australia Pavilion. We walk together in peace and respect towards a united future. So we start with this line. This line leads our inquiry. At the moment, the beginning of our lab was launched with this line by the Director of Science Gallery Melbourne. With the whole bloody catastrophe laid out before us, at what point do we intervene? And as our Bengaluru Carbon Mediators would tell us, in language, it becomes, with the whole bloody catastrophe spread out, at what time and point in space, or moment in time and place, do we work towards becoming free from the bind that we're currently in? So we work with 15 to 25-year-olds in 7 sites across the Science Gallery International Network to do this work. And the project we do it for is Hacking the Anthropocene. And this little flyer is actually made by Carbon Mediators in Bengaluru. It's storying and restoring the project, because every time we run it, it gets restoried by the people that we work with. And it is currently climate stories between art and science. And we make a lot of creative artefacts, and Kate will go through the project in a little bit more detail, but some of the things that come out of the project is the personal stories of carbon and personal stories of climate that are really located in place around the world. In Bengaluru, the stories are really watery stories, and here are spreads from their zines that they make through the climate storying, and every single one tells a story of rain's coming, rain's not coming, too much water, not enough water, water at the wrong time, and it's really a water-focused climate story. So with that, another artefact that comes from these workshops is poetry, and the poetry comes from a process that we go through over a few days or a few hours depending on the workshops we run. And this poem, Love in the Anthropocene, was written by another young person in Bengaluru and is also on the cards that were on your seat today. And I'll leave you to read that while I hand over to my colleague, Kate.
So this is what climate action looks like when you ask people who don't have access or privilege or voice or language to enter into the conversation that we have the privilege of being in today and for the week. What does it look like to ask people in the public to come together and to voice their concerns around what it means to actually live in the Anthropocene? This is a poem about what it means to love and live in anthropogenic times when your partner lives on the other side of India. So, We, as Sarah said, carry the voices of these young people. People who don't have the access or the funds or even the privilege of knowing how to enter into the kind of dialogue that we're in today. So we found this sign around actionism, which we do believe we are doing for young people. In working for young people inside the climate education space, climate justice space, and then trying to action what it looks like to live amidst crises. This is our kit that we travel between the Science Gallery Network, enabling it's co-designed by young people for young people to be able to enter into complex discourse. The young people that we work with know exactly what's going on in the world. They know all of the facts and figures and all of the things that we keep talking about today, but they don't actually get invited into that discourse very often. Usually the discourse happens between people with the discourse, but being able to actually locate a space, a spot, a place for those people to enter into, we've designed a game, and that game lets them enter into the complexity through their own climate stories, and here's these climate stories, where they locate themselves in a planet in crises. They're able to look across at a point in time when we ask them, when did you know that you lived in crises? When was the turmoil, when was the injustice present? They locate that moment in their lives. Again, remembering we're working with 15 to 28-year-olds, working with the revised definition of youth to 28, and ask them when that moment is, and then they tell that story. And then we teach them through research what it means to code research. How do you actually begin to think about stories as research spaces? This is some of the coding. These stickers come from the Hot and Bothered report developed by the Science Gallery Network now 2 years ago, a report written by youth for youth around what it means to live in these moments. It's not written by policymakers, it's not written by educators, it's written by young people who have found the gallery as an environment for them to enter into the kinds of languages and worlds that we currently live in, and we invite them into that with us. So this is language that comes from the key words that cut across that Hot and Bothered report, and they code each other's stories. So through a language of social practice research, they become a part of a language that they haven't really been able to enter into. After the climate story, they begin to design stories visually for each other through these zines. It doesn't need words. What it needs is an affective way of telling a narrative around where I live right now, and our actionism is to pick those stories up and take them with us. We take them back into the University of Melbourne. I'm an Associate Professor of Teacher Education, and they go back into teacher education. So people teaching young people take these stories with them. And we, like what's happening in the amazing India not-for-profit circular economy, develop a circular unfolding conversation in and through education. So that, again, it's not just people who can talk, but people who want to talk are actually invited in. Here they are working at Infosys Science Foundation. One of the most important bits of opening the public into the discourse is bringing public into environments they also wouldn't have access to. Young people don't get to sit on the floor at Infosys Science Foundation in Bengaluru, but here they are taking up the whole open space office and us politically doing the kind of action that these young people ask for. What we've been able to do is to carry banners from them to here. So what are the kinds of statements that they wanted us to bring to COP28, not just in their zines, but in the 2 banners that we carry with us here, and we'll show them at our exhibition space tomorrow. But being able to actually to carry the kinds of thinking that they have with us, also in language. I've heard a lot over the last 2 days in English, but what it means to speak in language and then in dialect is one of those spaces that actually, to me, is a site of access. So what happens when we choose to remove language? And here's an example of taking someone's climate story and locating the pauses. What does it mean to live in crisis when there are no words? And again, what does that actually look like? What does it feel like when we read this story? Knowing that, to me, this looks a lot like the carbon exhibition. Here, on my back. The carbon exhibition is the current show at Science Gallery Bengaluru, locating climate crises, but being able to locate it in words that are just, being able to locate it Again, in an environment where young people can enter without being seen to be too activist, in a country and a political climate that may not potentially allow them to use the kinds of languages that I can as I walk as a white Australian through India, but being able to locate it in a different way. Carbon Under Pressure is an important political exhibition, but it's doing it in a way that's safe for everyone that engages in it. Here's Sarah and I doing the research that we need to do. Social practice research is an important participatory form of art research because it actually enables people to preface their thinking and each of us become co-researchers together. There is no researcher hierarchy. Everybody who walks into that space, no matter who they are, between 15 and 28 with us, learns through methodology what it means to actually live in these times. Incredibly powerful images. One of the things that we locate in this space is also when we enter into climate discussion, what are the kinds of discussions that are a part of the folding, querying of climate. This is about climate education, but what does it mean to question oneself in anthropogenic times we can't undo from the types of other rights that we have to actually exist on the planet? Here we are with a carbon mediator, researching together about what these stories are telling us and what is unfolding from the space. Science Gallery Bengaluru's mission is to locate science within culture and then what experimentation looks like in that space. And here we are together co-researching. Here is the beautiful play on words that says save our earth. Kopadi is a Kannada word from the space of Kanakata in Bengaluru. And in Kannada, the play says Kopadi, save earth. And here's a bit of action that we were so beautifully met with when we arrived at COP, knowing that when you do climate action for young people, the actionists, the people who pick up that space and carry it with them, Sarah and I, are incredibly important to actually make that action happen and to ensure that that action does actually build further action. Thank you.
We will have the question session after all the panelists are done, so keep that questions in your mind, and please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. My name is Sagar. I was born in Nepal, and I started my climate action when I was 10 years old. And in the year 2011, I met Felix, who is the founder of Plan for the Planet, just a shout out to him. And that was the point when I saw many, many other young people also work or raise their voices to do something for climate action. And today I'm going to tell you that story of how these young people who started at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old have started building not only actions, but solutions so that we go just beyond action. Plan for the Planet was inspired by Wangari Maathai. She's the Nobel Peace Prize laureate who planted 30 million trees in over 30 years in Africa. And today we are taking her idea and vision and scaling much, much beyond that. And we are young people who are empowering other young people to become climate justice ambassadors through our academies, where it's always a child, 8 to 10 years old, giving presentation to many, many other children about what it means to protect our future, what it means to live in this crisis, and what it means to go forward, and what they can do, what their parents can do, and what we need to do for our future. At Plan for the Planet, we planted our first tree in 2007. This is when we were founded. And today, children across the world are planting trees to show a symbol that we can do something little, something small. We know that planting trees are not the solution, right? But we also go to different events and speak about why it's very, very important to raise our voices, to act, and to come up with good solutions and better solutions to act for our future. Over the course of the last 15 years, we've organized more than 15,000 academies with over 92,000 ambassadors all over the world. And along with our academies in Germany, we also produce the Change Chocolate. And many of you here might have received the Change Chocolate at the entrance of the climate conference, where we share a message why it's important that we still need to act for 1.5. But the chocolate and the academies are not the only things we do. We also want, as we grew up, as we turned into adults from very young children, we started thinking about what we can do ourselves. So we started a project in Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, where we restore more than 2 million trees every year. And so this is an area from 2020 and 2021 where we are restoring forests. And as we worked on this project, we realized that we need tens of thousands of projects like ours to reach the goal of 1 trillion trees. And coming to the trillion trees, this is a number that was actually in a paper by Tom Crowther, which was published in Nature in 2015. So he came up with research that said there are 3 trillion trees in the world, and another paper in 2019 by Bastin et al. Said that there's enough space in the world to restore more than 1 trillion trees. So the idea of the trillion trees in 2011, we just said a number, a large number. We want to restore 1 trillion trees. We want to bring back 1 trillion trees. But now there's the science to support that we can restore 1 trillion trees on our planet. So we have a project that we built in Mexico where we are learning how we can restore forests. We have children around the world speaking for climate action. And now the question is, how do we make our initiatives more scalable, right? How do we go to the next level? Because we know something, we can do something as young people. And this is where we come up with. And in 2018, after graduating from university, I and Felix, we started working on Plant for the Planet platform. The Plant for the Planet platform is a home for over 200 restoration projects all around the world. You can find projects doing forest conservation work. You can find projects doing urban restoration. You can find projects restoring mangroves. And this is a place where we want to bring transparency. We want to have tools to monitor forests. And this is a place where we don't take a single cut to support these initiatives. So in other way, everything we were doing for a project in Mexico, we want to make it easily available for projects all over the world. In addition to that, this is something we're currently working on, bringing remote sensing tools so that people can see how the forest is changing. Because one of the big problems in restoration is you don't see the visibility, right? You don't see what's happening. Some trees are planted or some forests are restored, and then the trees die. So we are building technology so that all restoration organizations around the world can see this impact, and donors, especially funders, people who want to support, can also see that impact as they visit our website. In addition to just using satellite data, we also recently started reviewing projects on the ground, because we want to make sure that the projects all around the world have the best standards, right? They're restoring multiple species and not just doing monoculture. They're engaging communities and not just holding up land and planting in private land. So we built a set of standards with a restoration review board, and those standards are being used to monitor our forests. In addition to the Plant for the Planet platform, as we learned that we can raise funds to restore these forests, it becomes very, very important that the next step is how do we monitor our forest? Because especially with forest fires increasing every single year, and the organizations in the ground not having enough funds to do the monitoring work, we started with the Tree Mapper app in 2021. So Tree Mapper is a very simple tool that lets forest workers without any research background, go into the forest, collect the data on which species they are restoring, where are they planting trees, and where the intervention is taking place. For example, if you're cutting some grass, you can store that as an intervention so that the donors can see it, so that everyone in the world can see what kind of intervention work you're doing on the ground. And this year, we're planning to launch monitoring plots, which allows restoration organizations to basically do very similar work as researchers do, creating intervention plot and creating a control plot. And this data can be used by any researcher around the world without actually visiting the ground. The next app we are working on is Fire Alert, which we launched earlier this year. I'm going to show you a little more details. And another app that we're working on is Seed Manager. So as we restore forests at scale, and as we are restoring not just 1, 2, or 5 species, and we are trying to bring more than 40 species, we're trying to restore ecosystems, the lost forest, it's really important to know the seeds and how we raise certain seeds. So with Fire Alert, you can if you want to track where the fires are happening, you simply add a point or a polygon or area, and you will be notified when there is a fire. This is a very simple app. We're using NASA's data set to notify you SMS, WhatsApp, email, or some other tools like webhooks, which allows you to notify your team so that you can respond to these fires very, very quickly. To give you an idea, 5 months after the launch, our users are monitoring the area almost the size of Brazil with Fire Alert app. And the Seed Manager app that I just spoke about, our idea is that we build a database of mother trees where we can gather seeds to restore this forest, right? So as people go and identify these mother trees, we can then build a knowledge about how different species produce their seeds and how we can handle those seeds in different ecosystems, different areas. So as organizations come together, we would build a global data set of how we could build nurseries with the seed banks. So this is something we're working on right now and will be available next year. One of the core elements of the Plant for the Planet platform, it's free of cost. Organizations on the ground don't have to pay us anything to use this. Because if we really want to scale global forest restoration, organizations working on the ground don't have the money to be able to afford this. So as we organize this as a nonprofit model, it's free for everybody. And for people who want to build on top of us, the platform is available fully open source. Anyone can build on top of it, and the data that's available on the platform is available as open APIs. So we want to help people working in restoration research, working in conservation, to be able to use this data from monitoring plots and tree mapper data set to be able to identify what are the impacts of this forest in different areas. And again, no commissions, right? When people make donations on the Plant for the Planet platform, 100% of your money goes to the organization planting the trees or restoring the forest. Thank you.
There's like 4 of you talking. Is it easier if you were saying, but is it okay that everybody comes one after another?
Good evening, everyone. So it's Ra from Sudan. I'm here with Dr. Sumaya. We are going to represent about the Sudanese Environment Conservation Society. Dr. Sumaya will give a brief introduction about the organization, and then I will highlight 2 projects that I have been part in as a youth. So, Dr. Sumaya.
Okay. Hello. I'm Dr. Sumaya from the Sudanese Environment Conservation Society. The Sudanese Environment Conservation Society is the biggest environmental society in Sudan, and it's very old. It's established in 1975, and our vision is that we are working for sustainable development for the future generation. And we have like 4 programs, which is institutional development program, which is capacity build the institution of us. We will see that we have a number of branches. Then we have environmental reformation program, where we look for all things which is deal with natural resource, ecosystem, and rehabilitation of the environment. And then we have a big program on environmental education program, which is deal with the different level from the community to the school, to universities, to decision maker. And we have the climate change program. And because of Sudan is facing a big challenges for environment and aggravated by the climate change. And then now we have this war which is going on, which destroy all the ecosystem. So we have a special program for climate change. Next. Yeah, and we have, because we are dealing with youth, we have a certain program for youth that we have environmental memory, which is it's an experience, exchange experience between the experienced people who are above 50 and those which is growing now, the youth. And then we have Nadir Awad Center for Environmental Research. Nadir Awad is one of the founder of the society, and this is actually for research and studies. We are dealing as a consultative body. Then we have Center for Environmental Awareness and Training, and this is a big one, which have a virtual library, and we have like 500 reference, which people come from different institutions and different organizations. They are making use of that. Unfortunately, now all this have been stopped. Next, please. We have actually branches in all over Sudan. They are working in the different program of the society, and most of the programs or most of the branches have been running by youth, actually, and doing this. Next, please. We have, why it's not going? Okay. This is what we are doing, some of the activities that we are doing. Sorry that it's part of it is in Arabic. Tree planting, working actually with the school children and working with the community. The youth is, they are being trained in communication and knowledge and how to deal with the community, because you know that Sudan have different state, and each state have its own social context. So people and young people have been trained on dealing with each context and how to deal with that one for the social things and to keep the entity of each society. And then we are working actually with the school. Now we have a program which is running on, which is called Hosh Al Madrasa, which is the backyard school that we form like a small association in the school, and they are catering for water and sanitation, for cleaning, and for keeping the school clean, and for planting trees. And then we have actually a planting tree program that everywhere, and we have a target now for 1 million trees to be planted in different parts of Sudan, but unfortunately, because of the situation of the war, now we are not able to do that. Next, please. This program, yeah, she will talk about action for regional climate help, and this is the program which is running now. RUA is part of track 1, and now we have track 2, which is running on. We are giving the participant, we have 15 participants, which is given skills and practices how to look at the policies, how to analyze the policies, and how to write a policy paper. So thank you.
Sudanese Environmental Society. They believe that in the power of youth and for youth advocacy. So the program is consists of is partnership between CRISP is a German organization, and the program is to empower youth-led organization in both Sudan and Egypt. It's working in two countries. So the program is having 2 tracks. There is track 1 and track 2. In track 1, there were 20 participants. Have been trained on project management, and then track 2 for policy writing. The over objective of the program to provide participants with knowledge and tools needed to develop policy. This is some picture of the program. We have intensive training for the track 1. There were 3 training, and then there is assessment, and then track 2. It has been online because of now the conflict in the country. So it has been online part for policy writing. And after that, the participants are supposed to go to track 3. And after graduating from the program, the participant will be get the opportunity to attend high-level meeting and get funded for this event. Also, this is another project supported by Sudanese environmental organization. It will be a normal picture, but for me personally, I was leading this project. It's called ALCOI, Local Conference in New Sudan. I have been the contact point. In collaboration with Sudanese Environmental Society, we make it real. This project, the ALCOI, for me, when I was thinking 4 months ago, it was impossible. For those who don't know, in Sudan, we have ongoing war, and we literally lost everything, and the conflict is everywhere. So I took the passion and say, okay, yeah, there is war, we lost the country and everything, but at the end, we can't lose hope. So I say, okay, we are going to have this local conference of youth. Let us collect some youth to work together. Then we face different challenges. First, lack of security, lack of safety, then lack of funding. The local organization, the local company, they said, we lost everything, we can't fund you. We went to the international NGO, they say, now we are focusing on humanitarian aid. At some point, we were hopeless, but then some power, some youth, some talking, and we thank Sudanese Environmental Society for taking lead for this. Mr. Adil with Medani, he'll help us a lot. We try to find a way. We never stop here. We try to find a hall, then collecting youth. Then it was impossible for me. But then, because of Sudanese Environmental Society and those youth who are there, actually I wasn't there in person because the airport is destroyed and can't travel back to my country. But I was leading from here. We had the conference. It was a big conference. We have more than 300 youth attend the conference. We have trees planting campaign during the conference. We have 6 workshops, 3 before, 3 after, and I think that I'm very thankful for Sudanese Environmental Society to make something happen in very crucial time. It's being impossible, but we make it. So thank you, and pass it to my colleague.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roa. Hey, everyone, this is Fahad. The main goal of my presentation would be, I see a lot of youth in the audience, and hopefully we get to inspire some more climate action. So I'll be talking about the Max Tavisto-Atkins Climate Ambassadorship Program. So basically, Max Tavisto-Atkins, he was a climate champion. And unfortunately, at the age of 25, he was flying to Ethiopia, and his plane crashed. And so GYCN, Global Youth Climate Network, in partnership with Connect for Climate, and supported by the World Bank Group, they came up with this ambassador program, and in his memory, to inspire the youth for more climate action. It's a quick video, which is not playing. Oh, we'll just skip it. It's like a 40-second video. We can watch it later. I'll send you the link, I guess. Yeah, so basically the ambassadorship program, we had over 2,500 applicants, and only 150 ambassadors were chosen from people from over 100 countries, 103 countries, I suppose. And all of us, we implemented over 250 climate actions. And the training was, we were very fortunate to be trained by experts from World Bank, senior management. And yeah, as you can see at the photo at the bottom, a lot of us have come to COP28, and we had a quick meeting with the World Bank Group senior management as well. And here are some climate action that we did. So as you can see, we've held webinars, capacity building sessions, radio shows, even protests, and engineering, construction. The main point is wherever our niche is, or what part of the climate sector we focus on, we want to inspire action, right? So I'll very quickly go over my project as well. I'm like full-time, I'm a renewable energy engineer. So like we raised money for installing solar and a computer in a couple of schools in Bangladesh. And the project on the right was for a biopellets facility for clean cooking in Uganda. And that's like what we call an SLD, single line diagram, like, yeah, like engineering design, and then held a capacity building session, as well as I have like an ongoing webinar series getting youth from all over the world discuss climate change and energy. And the main thing is like this ambassadorship program, it inspired me and it pushed me to take more climate action, and that culminated in me finding like my own organization. Please like if you can. And basically the fact that it pushed me to act and take action. From then on, I feel more confident doing more and more, and hopefully it's just taking the first step, just going over the threshold, and then we can work more and we can take more climate action and we all know that as youth we need a lot to do. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hello, so my name is Mohammed Ahmedi. I'm also one of the MT Climate Ambassadors, also a co-founder, communications director of the Mini Youth Network, and one of the COP28 International Youth Climate Delegates. So also had a great experience with the MT Ambassador Program, and one of the actions that I submitted for this was a side event. I helped organize a side event at the UN Water Conference. It was the first one after 46 years. It was in partnership with the World Food Firm, FAO, IAS, Islamic Development Bank, and it was on the Water, Food, Energy Ecosystem Nexus in MENA. And personally, I thought it was the most engaging side event at the UN Water Conference there. And we were able to get many people talking about this issue and talk about solutions to the challenges in agri-food systems in our region. So we can go to the next slide. Okay. So as one of the delegates, I would like to talk about the IYCDP. So this is the first year that such a program has been implemented by a COP presidency. And the goal of this program is to integrate youth in the climate negotiations process. And so we were selected around in March, I believe, and since then we've had lots of training programs by Harvard on negotiations, and others on the UNFCCC processes. So 100 people were selected. Most of them haven't attended COP. Most of them are from least developing countries or small island developing states. And so we had these trainings, and they also funded many of us to attend various conferences, such as the ones in our region. For example, I was funded to attend the MENA Climate Week with my fellow delegate, Ruqayya. And so we were able to engage in other conferences before coming to COP. So they also brought us to COI and COP now, and we were able to have many meetings with different decision makers and also engage with various side events. And so it's a great program, and really hope that future presidencies will also take this up and even expand it. So so these are just two programs that are helping to engage youth. And thank you.
Thank you so much. We have time for questions for 5 minutes. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, moderator, and thank you, panelists. I think this is a very interesting session, especially youth is the future, and how you're inspiring and catalyzing and sensitizing them on how to protect the environment and in particular climate change. My name is Patrick Karani. I'm from the African Union, AU-IBA. IBA stands for Inter-Bureau for Animal Resources, but of course, we're implementing a number of programs with the donor-funded at the Swedish, Norwegian, among others, and one of the key programs that could be of interest at what I've heard is on aquatic biodiversity, conservation, blue economy, and natural resource management. And what I'm trying to get at, because the African Union basically has a constituency of 55 African member countries. So we are present on the entire continent. And what would be for us to forge strategic partnerships so that we engage the youth who are inspiring others as the ambassadors, so that you broaden your constituency? How can we be of help? Or how can we be, in terms of partnership, how can we develop partnerships so that we can be able to leverage on your efforts? Thank you very much.
Can I take a quick stab at an answer? I think that we need to think more broadly about partnerships. I think that we importantly think locally, but we only think about the partnerships that are usually in our reach very quickly. So what does it mean to think beyond that reach, I think is important. I think that we need to work well with universities across the networks, across the globe. We need to work with our libraries and museums. We need to work with our galleries. And then we work across education. Unless we actually locate this across education sectors, I think that there's not an opportunity to engage enough young people. Education has everybody in it, in some form. Whether people have access to formal education or not, there are informal education environments that I do think all of us need to take a responsibility in partnering with, because when we don't do that, there's a whole range of the public that don't have access. And then we just keep talking in the same echo chamber, and it obviously isn't working. And so the more things that we can locate this and then find the intersections of those spaces for those partnerships, the better. Yeah. We should all talk to each other more.
Yeah, thank you very much. Eric Nadiope, working for the African Union. Thank you very much. I'm also grateful and thankful for this engagement. In addition to the issue of what you have said, we see on top the issue of advocacy, yeah, and empowering the youth through institutional development. Institutional development, also advocating for policy, clear policy, and also supporting the regulatory framework to enable the youth participate. You see, it is one thing throwing into the youth.
Yes.
But you know, when they don't know their role, you have not clarified their role, and even what are they expected to do, yes, you know, and what will be their benefits because we have to have in this thing we have to show the benefit side of having this out of these actions that are taking place. But now for us, and the issue of collaboration is to engage the relevant stakeholders to be in position to clarify the roles that the youth are supposed to have. Thank you very much.
And that's because we can't just ask young people to do the work without them knowing how to do the work. Yeah? Each of us have a responsibility to help young people navigate that.
I'm going to ask each panelist to have 10 seconds each to talk, and then we will go to the workshop, and I hope that what you were asking, we can show in person, if that works. Thank you, 10 seconds each.
So my 10 seconds. I will actually respond to that because I think that what we really try and do is, at the very beginning of the engagement, is to activate or ask young people how they want to define their own roles and what it is that they want to be doing. And then we frame what's happening around what they actually want and locating that specifically in their communities. And we act as facilitators and networkers and step out and hand everything over at the point that we can. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say something a little different. Like, engaging youth needs to be from the space where adults leave the space for young people in policy, in governments, in all these areas, right? We can't sit down at 50 and say, how do I engage young people? We have to leave that space so that young people have the space to do something. And I think it's really, really important at companies, at governments. It's not that young people are not capable. There are many, many young, capable people, but they don't have the space because the space is not being opened up. And I think this is something that absolutely needs to change if we want to have progress in solving climate crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe I go in the same direction what he's saying, because if the African Union have a desk for youth and NGOs, academia, then this will be a very good networking and collaboration. So this is what you need to look for when you think of involving youth and involving civil society and all those academias. Thank you.
Okay. So my final thoughts are that, similar to what other people said, that youth should be engaged in every single institution, from local, national companies, organizations. So they should meaningfully engage. They should be like trained and given a seat and shown how to actually run these institutions and how to make a difference. So I think we need more of that on all levels. So, yeah.
Thank you. I'll echo the sentiment that was implied by my other panelists. That, look, the beauty about youth and climate action is that a lot of youth are genuinely interested to be more involved in this field. And it seems like the adults are, the more senior colleagues, they are really interested to collaborate and help out as well. The main point would be just bringing the two together. Just finding those genuinely passionate people working on climate change, and then empower them with funding, with training, with everything else that might be needed. And we all know that the youth are definitely capable. So if you empower them to take the next step as well, so who knows? I'm sure the possibilities are endless. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please give them a round of applause. And now we would like to shift to the next session, where I would like the youth to actually take over and then have the networking and the action.
So I think for the next session, we are really thankful for all the panelists and the University of Melbourne for the panel and the Q&A part. Now we would like to divide up into groups of 5. So if people could sort of co-mingle and find 4 other people, Emory students will come to you and we'll start working through our discussion questions and the rest of our activity. I'm just going to give like a minute before I do that. Are we ready for the first question? Okay, so I think we have 3 different questions that we're going to go through for about 8 minutes each with our groups. The first question we want to talk about is, what is your name, who are you here with, and could you share what you do with your organization? We're at 8 minutes. Should I like interrupt? Like, what do you think? Like, I think people are just talking, you know? Like, okay. I Well, they turned my. Okay, I think our 8 minutes are up, so we're going to move on to the next question. What are your personal goals for this conference? And one thing I would think to keep in mind during these conversations is at the end, we're going to ask people to write a little answer about their favorite question. So if you could sort of think about what you want to talk about in that answer, that would be great. Okay. For our last question, I For our last question, we want to discuss how do you hope to apply what you've learned at COP after you leave. And then we will post all of our answers on our board. So be thinking about what you want to talk about and what your reflections are from this conversation.
to just, oh.
Alexis is talking about humans after we do the QR code, right? Yeah. Okay. So we think that, wait, is my microphone on? We have a QR code that we appreciate everyone. I don't think is the microphone on? We have a QR code on the screen that would be great if everyone could click on. And then you can locate yourself on the map from where you're from. And we would appreciate in the text section if you could answer one of the questions that were asked or sort of provide your thoughts or feelings based on the discussions that you had in your group. And then you'll be able to view this, if you have the link, forever to see sort of the different stories of the people here.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Okay, super quickly. So I hope that you all had fun networking with one another and were able to have a fruitful conversation. Really quickly, I wanted to tell you all about a project that we're doing as Emory University. So really quickly, we're doing this thing called Humans of COP, and if you've ever heard of like Humans of New York, it's something similar to that, where we're trying to like center the voices of those who aren't typically centered in this space. And so we are doing interviews with anyone and everyone we can, and so we just wanted to try and get as many people as possible. So we're trying, if you all are available and willing to help us with this project, we would really appreciate it. So basically what we do is we just hold interviews with people we find particularly interesting, and before we do that, we ask for their consent since we're not technically media. So in order to get their information and take a video and a picture and to post it all, we just kind of need their consent that they're willing to do this. So that's the most important part before you conduct an interview, is to make sure that they're willing to have this information out there. And then beyond that, ask them like where they're from, like what they do, what their goals for the conference, similar to the things that we talked about today. And then also just ask about like the thing that you encountered them through. So today I did an interview with someone who was talking about like their experience with like sea level rise and the research that they do with coral bleaching. And so I wanted to know a little bit more about that. So anything in that nature would be really, really appreciated. In order to share the information that you guys gather, we would use the same exact platform that you guys use today in order to share that information so that we could easily access any information that you guys gather later on. And also, if you networked with someone and can't figure out how to do this, then you feel free to send it to one of the Emory people, and we'd be more than happy to add it to our Instagram. If you want to follow along with this project, once we get it off the ground and running after COP, it's Humans of COP 28 on Instagram, super easy to find and follow. Does anyone have any questions about how the project works and how you are able to participate in it? Oh, also, in terms of keeping things very consistent, in terms of like posting things, we hope that all the videos would be vertical, just so that we have a lot of consistency throughout. And we also record just the person, so like you would be behind the camera, or someone would be recording you and you're standing next to the person recording, and it's just the person being interviewed. And I think that's all. But once again, thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed.